What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Weapons and Technology. In this episode, as you probably guessed by the thumbnail, is about Bacta tanks and everything you need to know about them. Now, we'll start off saying that Bacta was actually the most powerful healing agent ever discovered in the Star Wars universe, and even to the point there were wars were even fought over it. Countless lives were lost in the struggle to maintain its supply. Now, the discovery of Bacta and its incredible healing properties actually transformed the medical practice and drastically increased the life expectancy for almost all species in the Star Wars universe. Bacta tanks actually ended up becoming the best known method of administering this amazing cure-all. Now, it was originally discovered on the planet Thifera, where it was produced by the insectoid Vratrix. Bacta was a byproduct of the brewing together of Alazi salve with a synthetic chemical called kavam. Now, this process was a source of almost mystical satisfaction to the Vratrix. Indeed, it was so intoxicating that they were almost psychologically compelled to produce the substance. And after the medical significance of Bacta was then discovered, human colonists on Thifera gradually began to take advantage of the Vratrix's addiction. And they encouraged the creatures to produce more and more Bacta and then began to sell it on the open market. And as a result, the Vratrix were effectively transformed into a slave race while the colonists amassed immense fortunes. Now, when Bacta was actually mentioned, most beings immediately thought of Bacta tanks, but however, these devices were generally only used for most life-threatening injuries, and this was for a number of reasons. Firstly, it costs about 3,000 credits per tank, so the tanks are actually extremely expensive. And secondly, well, due to their size, the tanks required a lot of Bacta, and again, that was not cheap. Now, finally, total immersion tended to leave a bad taste in their mouth for weeks afterwards, as if you've read any of the novels, like I have read a lot of them, they all actually mention about the bad aftertaste of Bacta in their mouth. But that said, when serious injuries did occur, Bacta tanks often made the difference between life and death. Indeed, they saved the lives of many great heroes of the Rebel Alliance, like, for example, Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles. It was a common misconception that Bacta tanks contained only Bacta, which, if I was to be honest, first time I knew of Bacta tanks, I actually thought the whole liquid was Bacta. But in fact, most of the liquid in the tank actually consists of a clear synthetic fluid that mimicked the Patton's own vital fluids, and whilst also serving as a disinfectant bath, nourishing the Bacta itself and preventing it from spoiling. And in addition to Bacta, other chemicals like medicines, stem shot, adrenal boosters and immunity enhancers, for example, could also be released into the tank. Alternatively, these drugs were sometimes injected directly into the patient via retractable spray hypos. Individuals who were then placed inside Bacta tanks were fitted with specially designed breathing masks. These masks included a small microphone and earpiece, enabling patients to communicate with medical staff. Patients were often forced to remain in the tanks for up to a week, so the masks were often used to relay music and other entertainment for the occupants' benefit. This helped to alleviate any feelings of claustrophobia and distress that he or she might experience. And such was the sophistication of Bacta tanks that they also included powerful medical computers designed to monitor the condition of the patient within, and most medical droids were able to link into these computers directly. Now, but Bacta tanks were not always the only way of making use of this remarkable healing agent. Depending on the severity and location of the injury, there were other different methods of applying Bacta that they could use. You had Bacta patches, which were pretty much just bandages that contained a small amount of Bacta, and they'll be applied to a small surface wound, which would then increase the rate of healing remarkably. And it was a popular field dressing. They could stabilize a seriously injured patient, keep them alive until they could reach a facility with a full tank. Now, miniature Bacta tanks were occasionally used to surround a seriously damaged limb or even a torso in the latter case. In the latter case, though, they were again more useful in stabilizing a patient for later treatment. Sometimes injuries were so serious that not even a Bacta tank could heal them. So in these cases, a procedure called a Bacta purge could be used. Whilst extremely risky and difficult to administer, it involved flooding a patient's entire body with Bacta. Now, 1,000 years before the Galactic Civil War, Bacta pumps were used in a slower, safer version of a purge. They injected Bacta into the bloodstream to boost healing throughout the patient's body. And then the pump also removed the used Bacta, cleaned it, and re-injected it. And there you have it. That's everything you need to know about Bacta and Bacta tanks. So if you like the video with the information in it, be sure to hit a like. And be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with all my latest videos, as both liking and subscribing does help out the channel a bit. And as always, I hope you have a good day, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later, guys.